Welcome to the Literally First Class podcast, where I will teach you how to overcome anxiety and achieve somatic success. I'm your host, Keri Ford. I'm a somatic success and holistic life coach here to bring humor, insight, and wisdom to the modern day woman that wants to feel alive in her daily life. You ready? Come on, I saved you a seat in first class. Grief. No one really tells you how much grieving there is in growth. And I wanted to read a post to you that I wrote a while ago, but I return to it every time I'm experiencing growing pains, because with every new level, your previous ceiling has now become your floor. And as a result, everything that is below that is before that, dies. It goes away. And sometimes that includes relationships and friendships, and there's grieving that happens in growth. So even though you're celebrating these new levels, you're also grieving the loss of who you were before and everything that has come with that. So I'm going to go ahead and read this post. No one tells you how much grieving there is in growth, because metamorphosis, like childbirth, is not a gentle process. It's an initiation, an invitation that calls us into the places we never felt we belonged before. The woman who has lost 50 pounds is no longer the woman who hides behind others in pictures or strategically planned clothing. The woman who has started charging the prices she is worthy of being paid is no longer the woman who is not valuing herself. The woman who is divorced is no longer married to the life or the dreams she once had. The woman who is penning the pages of the stories she never told is no longer the woman who doesn't use her voice. The woman who meets herself in motherhood is no longer the woman who was never mothering. And we grieve. We grieve the loss of the identity of who we thought we were. The attachment that was based on others' perceptions, parameters, and projections. We grieve the less expanded versions of ourselves that couldn't see the next step, the next iteration of self. We grieve in letting go of the illusory control and resist surrendering to the sweet and silent humming flow within us. Oh, there is so much grieving and growth. And so if this is the season of shedding that you are in, as I often find myself to be as well, keep going, keep growing. You belong right here. Grief doesn't really get easier. The only thing I have found that makes it easier to move through is just surrendering to it, accepting that this is part of the process and the cycles of healing. With every contraction, there's an expansion, and then there's another contraction and another expansion, and so on and so forth. And on the other side of chaos during an up level, there is also peace and joy. And so I know that because I've been here enough times. So if you find yourself in a season of growth, if you haven't yet, you're going to find yourself in a season of grieving. Let it go. Let it move through you and just surrender to that process. It's part of growth. And unfortunately, this comes with the loss of relationships. There have been many relationships I've cycled through, and those relationships were important and necessary in that season, and then they no longer were aligned or resonated. Sometimes it wasn't that anything in particular had been done wrong. It simply was an outgrowing. And that's probably been one of the most painful parts, because part of me has wanted to think, oh man, like what did I do wrong? What did I do here that they don't want to be friends anymore? And yet when I really ask myself the truth and I ask my body, if in fact that relationship has served its purpose and that cycle is complete, I always have my answer. So maybe you did nothing wrong. Maybe that relationship was perfect for who you were in that moment, and now where you're going, there are new relationships. There's new evolutions, new connections, new depths. Sometimes I feel like the more growth and expansion that I deepen into, the smaller that pool gets of relatability and alignment. But I was actually talking to my mentor about this the other day, and she said, well, it does for a period of time, and then it expands again. So I'm excited for that expansion. I'm excited for those relationships. And it doesn't make it any easier, right? The grief is honestly what holds a lot of people back from doing the growth work to begin with. They're afraid of who they're going to outgrow and what they're going to have to let go of. It might not even be people. It might be identities. It might be beliefs. It might be everything. But the cool thing is that it's everything that was never you to begin with. The closer we get to ourselves, the more we find that we magnetize everything that actually resonates with us. I had to be willing to let all of it go, and I had to die 1,000 deaths to get to where I am now, or I wouldn't have had the success, the abundance, the quote-unquote unrealistic manifestations. I never could have dreamed up half of them. Who rents an island? I didn't even know you could do that until now. Who has 5-figure weeks? I didn't know you could do that until now. Who has crazy, aligned, wild, passionate love? I didn't know you could have that until I did. And so there's seasons and there's grieving, but don't let it deter you from doing the growth work. Just know that it's coming if you're doing the growth work. And it's worth it, I promise you. Keep pursuing growth. Keep expanding. Stay curious and know that you are exactly where you're meant to be. I hope you enjoyed your flight, and I'll see you on board again soon. Seriously though, thanks for listening. If you're ready to take this work deeper and upgrade your mind, I want to invite you to join us inside my Millionaire Mindset program. This is where you'll start using my guided meditations to help you overcome anxiety and experience even more abundance. When you join, you'll have access to my entire audio library. Head over to elevatewithkeri.com and we'll see you inside.